If you seek an audience with the Master, go to the link in the description for all forms of communication. Thank you.
Happy Halloween, listeners! I am the mighty Master Voluminous, teacher, commentator, and storyteller. Today we discuss the universe. Well, no, we're going to discuss a particular section of the universe. Those of us in magic circles call it Kurisstac, the abyss. Kurisstac is a prison for powerful immortal entities, beings such as angels, demons, titans, and living celestial bodies. It was created by Diohlata, the Father, because of the rise in these entities causing trouble all over the cosmos. Being sent here is their eternal penalty. You see, unrepentant mortal souls are cast into Plakdali, hell. But these beings cannot die, as they do not live in the way you and I do. Another reason these beings couldn't just be cast into Plakdali is that while they are forever locked out of Udama, heaven, they could come and go as they please from any other part of the universe. Diohlata crafted a space from which they could never escape, not because its defenses were impenetrable. No. The best way to describe it is to think of it in human terms. Imagine you've been thrown in prison, and you've been planning your escape. You dig your way out, or you drink something to make yourself so sick that you have to be taken to a hospital outside of the prison. Or you bribe the staff to hide you in a laundry basket and sneak you out. You've made it out, and now, depending on your sentence and the crime you committed, you have a specific amount of time before you burst into flames and cease to exist. The only thing that can save you from such a fate is to go right back to your prison cell and stay there until the end of your sentence, which is eternal. With each escape attempt, the amount of time you have until your cessation decreases, until merely sticking your hand out of a window means instant death. Of course, if you were considered dangerous enough to begin with, that will happen anyway. Kurisstac was once the perfect prison, but like me, many of its inhabitants had access to devoted acolytes, who found and crafted tools to allow their masters to send out their influence and power, and still cause chaos, all while being locked away in a dark pit at the edge of the universe. Now, would you like to know what resides in this wicked place? I'm sure you would. So I'll discuss 4, one of whom you should recognize if you've been with us long enough.
I do what the Father will not.
Diohlatas, the Avenger. A being of many massive silver wings, blades, and eyes, though to mortals he would appear as a bird of some kind. It could be a crow, or a vulture. Once a wise, just, and balanced judge who offered counsel to all who approached, he was also the guardian, mentor, and friend to Fari Hasira, White Fury, the Udamuan Titaness who created my home world in Arcadia. We'll discuss her in more detail another time, but for now you should know that they were inseparable, battling side by side in endless war between Udamu and Plakdali. Diohlatas could give great power to those he deemed worthy and just, amplifying their abilities beyond comprehension. Sadly, it was often at the cost of their own lives, and one of his own wings, which were many, as were his eyes. Some could see great distances. Some could see into the hearts and minds of those he judged. And some could see snippets of the future. And what he saw in all of them began to break him. He saw his comrades fall into darkness. He saw the birth of Yanati, Nemesis, a hideous amalgamation of parts from titans and angels, twisted and tortured to become the first and only Plashdalian titan, and exist only to destroy Varihasira and himself. He grew frustrated with the evils of the mortal races. Humans in particular disgusted him above all else. For in the application of evil, many of them had the greatest capacity for creativity. That's what we'll call it. Atrocity after atrocity, loss after loss, until he thought to take matters into his own hands and do what he was never permitted to do: punish those deemed wicked. He sought to wipe out entire civilization and use his ward and friend, the Titaness Varihasira, in his crusade, manipulating her rage and filling her mind with visions. He pointed her at various worlds like an attack dog. She broke free of his control, but not before her hands were stained with blood. She confronted him, and their battle was titanic, pardon the pun, and costly to both. But in the end, the Titaness's righteous fury and Devada's judgment allowed her to rip every one of Diohlatas' now blackened wings from his body and throw him into Kurisstac, where he now sits in bitter contemplation. That was Grubass, Slapstick, a being of blue and orange morality, born from the one before, which is the nothingness that predates all of creation, from which Devada was also born. He is perceived by all but Devada to be a pair of multicolored eyes, one larger than the other, and a massive toothy smile. When life was created, Grubass found its way into our universe simply to observe the progression of life. Then he got bored and began to live up to his name. He had the power to shape and warp his immediate surroundings with his hands, like turning planets into cubes and throwing galaxies like frisbees. No harm came to the mortals, of course, but Devada threw his brother into Kurisstac due to his disruptive nature and disregard for the rules of the reality that he had so carefully crafted. However, Grubass's influence is what allowed for the creation of wacky, unexplainable dreams that you tend to forget after a bit, and eventually the cartoons that you may have grown up with. On the topic of dreams, we move to a being born from the minds of men. Combarametu, fuel to fear. A being spawned from the darkest pits of the collective human psyche, often perceived as a giant, segmented, serpent-like dragon with gray skin and long white hair. A mouth that opens to reveal the one before. Teeth that burn, suffocating saliva. Crooked eyes that are peach in color. Sightings of this creature go back to when the human world had truly embraced madness. When was that? Well, that's entirely up to you. But know that whatever day you pick, Combarametu was there. It is of your nightmares. It feeds on your nightmares and fuels your nightmares. But of the inhabitants of Kurisstac, it is one of the weakest, for it can be subjugated. It too can be frightened, but not without cause. Believe me, I know, for it was I who cast this filthy creature into the abyss. With all of my faith, all of my power, all of my will, to prepare myself for confrontation, Diohlatas came to me in a vision and took me from the universe. The one before, which predates all of creation, all of existence, all forms of reality. It is not a place. There is no time. It is not an experience. There is no light. There is no darkness. There is no sound, no sight, no smell, no touch, or even taste. There is no matter or energy of any kind. I was never the same. But when I fought the beast, it had no power over me. I trapped it in my mind once I had removed it from the human psyche. I crushed it, and then I tossed its wretched remains into the depths of Kurisstac, where it now cowers at the mere mention of my name. This phrase may be familiar. A woman who carries the irredeemable in the presence of abuse or danger shall summon Okuphinki. Be warned, this creature seeks only to cause pain and suffering. It is a friend to no one. Those of you who have followed the podcast from the beginning, or have read the horror novella Pinky by Gift C. and Yadike Jr., will be familiar with this entity. For those of you who are neophytes, here is what you need to know. Okuphinki is a malevolent, opportunistic predator that seeks out vulnerable women and girls, exploits their pain, turns them into monsters, and then leaves them to suffer the consequences of its interference. Its most common method of contact is a pink jewel that resembles an eye called the irredeemable, which means pink eye. It is often attached to a golden medallion that both the victim wears and the monster. Sometimes it can force its influence into the world, but only when the victim is at their most vulnerable. Okuphinki's forms as follows. It has a massive round head with huge eyes that often glow bright pink, a massive mouth that covers nearly the entire width of its face with big white teeth, a slender androgynous body that wears a dark pink jacket over a black sleeveless shirt, blue jeans, and red sneakers. Its fingers are long with bright pink claws that also glow. It often wears the medallion, which glows as well. Now, listeners, I must apologize, because I have not been entirely truthful to you. You see, I told you that Grubass did not hurt anyone, when I actually meant that he did not directly kill anyone. You see, oh Father, why? Grubass had visited the Earth on one occasion and spent time in the nation of South Africa. It was the early 2000s, and at that point he came to know of the urban legend of Pinky, a monster that preyed on little girls. especially those with pink underwear. Perhaps inspired to do some good, he decided to create an entity that would combat this monster. I believe his intentions may have been sincere, but I cannot begin to even comprehend what his reasoning might have been. Grubass sought out that wretched beast Combarametu in the world of dreams, and then he proceeded to mate with the creature. And within that dream, there was a human witness. This witness, oh Lord, this witness, they saw everything, from beginning to end. If I were to describe it, I fear what it could do to your mind, so I won't. Whoever this poor soul used to be, they seemed to find the entire event amusing, perhaps to cope. And so they laughed. They laughed and laughed and laughed and continued to do so until the dream ended. And when they awoke, Okuphinki was born and went out to offer its protection to all the women of the world. A clan of 20 Zulu witches came together in service of this creature, only to backstab it, and with their combined power and life force, they were able to send it to Kurisstac forever. However, the creature had crafted several irredeemable medallions, so that it always had a window into our world. Well, I believe I've traumatized you enough for one evening. Listeners, if you would like to hear more about the Kurisstac Chronicles, do be sure to subscribe on the platforms that allow you to do so, rate the episode positively on the platforms that allow you to do so, and keep tuning in. You can also contact me at mortiferousarcadia@gmail.com. The email will be in the description. Thank you again for tuning in, and I do hope you have a wonderful Halloween night. Don't stay out too late, though. You never know what might be lurking out there.